Hello everyone. Canis Major, one of the constellations in the sky, has as its primary star Sirius. And Sirius is a binary star. It is also one of the nearest stars to us. It's the brightest star in the sky at night, obviously. During the day as well, but we just can't see it. And it's to the south and east of Orion, so down to the left, and it's kind of disappearing at the moment. It goes to the southern hemisphere in terms of being visible through all of the British summer, and will reappear again in autumn to take up its really bright place in the sky. It's called the dog star, partly because obviously Canis Major is the great dog in the sky. There's Canis Minor as well, which is just three little stars really in a row that someone with great imagination or over an abundance of wine at some point in the night a long time ago decided looked like a little dog. But it's called the dog star. And there's a lot of legend attached to the dog star. You may have heard the phrase dog days. And if you know Florence and the Machine, that fantastic tune of theirs, Dog Days Are Over. If you don't know it, look it up. It's one of my kind of get me home on a long run or bike ride favorites because it's just fantastic. Dog Days, assigned or associated with Sirius in the summer, when Sirius would be rising with the sun, so no longer visible at night but rising with the sun. And through history there have been some fantastic understandings of what it means to have Sirius and the sun rising at the same time and what that does. For example, Hesiod, writing about the same time as Homer in the Iliad, wrote this: "When the piercing power and sultry heat of the sun abates, and almighty Zeus sends the autumn rains, and men's flesh comes to feel far easier, for then the star Sirius passes over the heads of men, who are born to misery, only a little while by day, and takes greater share of night. Then, when it showers its leaves to the ground and stops sprouting, the wood you cut with your axe is least liable to worm." Now, if any of that made any sense to you, it's basically saying dog days are bad. There's an even better quote. I don't know who it's from, but it's about the effect of the combination of Sirius's light with the sun's, and that was understood together to have an impact on the effect on plants, animals, and women as well as men. So here's a gorgeous quote: "But when the artichoke flowers in June, and the chirping grasshopper sits in a tree and pours down his shrill song continually from under his wings in the season of wearisome heat, then goats are plumpest, and wine sweetest. Women are most wanton, but men are feeblest, because Sirius parches head and knees, and the skin is dry through heat." Wow, that's quite a lot for a star to do. That is 8 light years away from us. So traveling at the speed of light, roughly just shy of 200,000 miles an hour, a second, 200,000 miles a second. That light takes 8 years to get to us from one of our very nearest neighbors. Now, why am I telling you all of this? Well, because I love astronomy and I love the night sky. And one of the things I love about Sirius particularly, either on my own or when I introduce others to the night sky in various ways, is to ask them, where were you and what were you and who were you and what was your life about 8 years ago? Because those little packets of light, those photons that left Sirius exactly 8 years ago, are now hitting the back of your eyeball and firing your retinas and sending an electrical signal to your brain that is producing the image of the star that you see and the light that you detect. And so 8 years ago, whatever you were doing, wherever you were, that light packed its bags and set out on its very speedy and for us quite lengthy, but in astronomical terms, just extremely round the corner journey to enter your eyeball and to ask you these questions right now. And it's a question that produces the most fantastic conversation while we continue to look at other bits of the night sky, or while I just think about that myself each time I go out with my telescope on a night when I both don't have a meeting and it is clear, which is a rare coincidence. 8 years ago, who was I? Where was I? What was I? And were those dog days in some way? Well, today today I particularly think back 10 years. 10 years ago today, I had I had finished walking the Camino de Santiago. I'd spent 6 weeks of a sabbatical walking about 900 kilometers, 550 miles, well, at that stage 500 miles, 800 kilometers from just inside the French border over the Pyrenees and then right across the north of Spain to finish in Santiago de Compostela, a city built around a cathedral and a legend that St. James, the apostle, the disciple of Jesus, traveled to Spain after the death of Jesus and had a great ministry of converting people to Christianity there. And that's under the light of a very bright star. Sounds familiar? A shepherd boy found a fragment of bone, and it was revealed to him and then to the archbishop and others who decided it was most venerably so, that this was a fragment of bone from the apostle James. And those little fragments sit in a silver box inside a grand cathedral, and people for thousands of years, well, hundreds of years, well over 1,000 years, have trekked across Spain from every direction, from the UK, from everywhere. The locus of pilgrimage that is Santiago de Compostela has been there. I met Rebecca while I was walking, and today, 10 years ago, having met 6 weeks before, and both of us waylaid on our travels, I'll talk about that in a moment, set out from Santiago de Compostela to walk to Finisterre, literally in Spanish, the end of the world, which is the westernmost point in the north of Spain, to while away some time because we were stuck. Because this bad boy, Eyjafjallajökull, had erupted. The last time that Europe was shut down effectively in some ways, it was a big boy that did that, not a tiny little virus. It was the Icelandic volcano Eyjafjallajökull that decided to erupt just on 10 years ago and stop all air traffic. So we were stranded, we couldn't get home, and we carried on walking. I was in the beginnings of having quite conflicting feelings about Rebecca. I was in the process of the end of a previous marriage, 2 years into that, not yet divorced, and trying to trust myself, trying to trust the extraordinary nature of the circumstances I was in, at the same time as knowing I'd met someone quite special. And 10 years on, Rebecca and I remember this season particularly every year, because it's a wonderful story in both of our lives, the choice to do that walk with the icing on the cake that we met each other. And we now share our lives. So what's all this about? Well, I guess today, the question, what significant days have come and gone in the course of this coronavirus lockdown for you? Maybe birthdays, anniversaries, in the midst of lots of ordinariness, particular days when you have felt the burden of memory or the joy of memory in some way. And very different days, because the celebrations that you might have had, or the ways of remembering, either a trip to a graveside or I don't know, all kinds of things, they are not available to you, to me, in the way that they have been. So today I really want to talk about remembering. It's been said by some that the whole of the Bible can be summed up in the word remember. It's a story that tells, through poetry and prose and history and all kinds of letters, all kinds of different types of literature, tells the story of people's experience of themselves, each other and God through a protracted period of time. We can debate the historical accuracy of lots of bits of it, the partiality of God in lots of bits of it. We can be skeptical about some of the detail that we find there, but it is fundamentally a collectively held memory of where we've come from and what makes us who we are, for good or ill, in the way we do our remembering. But here we have a library of books that fundamentally say, remember. And I wonder what you are remembering during this coronavirus season. And what are the memories, and maybe memories that have been attached to particular dates or times or seasons or daffodils or the signs of spring or autumn in the southern hemisphere, that take you back into some of what has made you who you are, and what has brought you to the place in your life that you're in, some of the best and the worst of your memories, and your identity and your sense of self. So today I want to say happy remembering, or just good remembering. And if there has been a birthday or a significant date in this time that has passed by in a very ordinary way, in a very spectacularly unspectacular way, because it is so different from what's gone before, I hope it's still been good. And if there are days to come in this coronavirus time that would have been wonderful but now pass you by in the ordinariness of lockdown as it's becoming for us, I pray that those are still good days for you, however you want to hold them. And whatever your memories are that sustain you, and however they attach themselves to dates or seasons, I hope that there is some gentleness in those memories. Not just joy, but when they come to memories of failure or fear or distress or difficulty, I hope that they become gentler memories, and memories that you are willing to hold on to, because they are what have made you who you are. Mine are what have made me who I am. And as I hold very particular memories today, as I watched Sirius last night just slip below the horizon in the west, maybe for the last time this year, I don't know, I think I'll see it again, but it's on its way out. Good days or dog days, the dog star asks us to look back and to think about where we've come from and who we've been, and to do so with grace and with joy and with gratitude. So happy remembering, whatever the 21st of April or all the days that are around this season mean to you. Happy remembering. I'll share some more tomorrow. So if you don't know the Florence and the Machine song, Dog Days Are Over, there's a link on the Facebook page, wherever you've seen this, to have a look at one of the videos. It's a live festival video, which is, I think, one of the best of that. The original music video is a bit weird. But it's a curious song because the lyrics are wide open to interpretation. Some people think it's a song about the end of an abusive relationship and someone finding their freedom. Some people think it's about casting off our worries and, basically just grabbing hold of the days that lie ahead and stepping into the future. At least one person commenting on the lyrics said it's about the apocalypse and the fact that things can't get any worse, so you might as well be happy right now. It's one of those great songs where the lyrics give you the freedom to decide what it's about. But I just love that line, dog days are over. Dog days are over. And in the original understanding of Dog Days, it's for me a very hopeful song, whatever the roots of it are and whatever the ending is of a time of madness or disturbance or unhappiness. So if you want to watch it, enjoy it. I love it.